Hello, everyone, and welcome to ABC All About Canada, a program that informs, educates, and inspires our fellow kababayans with the current events happening in the Philippine-Canadian communities. I am your host. My name is Rovic Gloria Canono, and today we have a very relevant topic: the 5 common causes of misrepresentation in your immigration application here in Canada. And we have a guest today. She is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Let's all welcome Glendale Bongcaron.
Hello everyone! Magandang umaga, magandang gabi, at magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. So I'm Glendale Bongcaron. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I've been in practice since December of 2019. Today we will discuss with Sir Roves yung common causes ng misrepresentation. So misrepresentation, they actually occurs if meron po tayong na-provide na information sa immigration or sa CBSA na inaccurate, inconsistent, or fraudulent.
So, yung Glendale, so yung misrepresentation pala, from the word itself na misrepresentation, which is very common word na ginagamit nating mga RCIC, ibig sabihin, parang meron silang sinubmit, meron silang sinagot, na document o sinagot na doon sa forms na hindi totoo.
Yes. And most of the time po, hindi po na, kumbaga, hindi nila naiintindihan yung question pero sinagutan nila tapos mali pala yung sagot. Or sometimes, it's actually done intentionally to hide those information. But the effect of misrepresentation, it's actually a very hard call on any of your applications moving forward. So, kailangan nating maintindihan yung common causes para pwede nating iwasan.
So, babatay sa sinabi mo, yung misrepresentation, pwedeng nagkamali lang, okay? Nagmamadali siguro, hindi alam yung sagot, okay? Sila lang gumawa ng forms nila, diba? Kaya kailangan talaga ay may katulong sila dapat na RCIC, okay? Or yung iba intentional, okay?
Yes.
Alright. Okay, so maliwanag yan mga kababayan, tatalakayin natin through our guest, regulated Canadian immigration consultant Glendale Bongcaron, the 5 common causes of misrepresentation. Pero bago yan, Glendale, taga saan ka sa Pilipinas?
I'm actually from Dumaguete City, from Negros Oriental po.
Wow.
And then sa Canada, Richmond, BC.
Oh, I see. Kamusta yung mga kababayan natin dyan? Baka gusto mo silang batiin.
Hello, magandang gabi. Magandang gabi na sa Pilipinas ngayon. So I think most of them are already asleep. But yeah, we have a lot of Filipino communities din sa Richmond. Malaki ang Filipino community sa Richmond.
Sa Dumaguete, anong salita ba dyan?
Bisaya po. So, kaya medyo ang aking Tagalog ay hindi masyado magaling.
Bagay mo sila sa Bisaya para naman na...
Magbisaya, it's very, sayo na kaayo, pero it's hard for us to speak in Tagalog. So, English po mostly yung pinagsasalita.
Alright. Okay, so sa mga taga Dumaguete, alamin na kung sino, kung pupunta kayo ng Canada, alamin na kung sino kukontakin. Si Glendale Bongcaron po ang inyong kababayan. Okay, papasok na po tayo sa 5 common causes of misrepresentation na dapat ninyong iwasan. Okay, bago sa pag-fill up nyo ng application o habang kausap nyo, maging tapat na kayo. Honesty is the best policy dito sa application. Common cause number 1.
Yung pinakauna na hindi talaga naiiwasan or sometimes nagkakamali ang client is yung medical admissibility. So sa Canada, meron kasing medical admissibility test. So kailangan nating i-declare lahat ng kung meron ba tayong mga sakit, meron ba tayong mga past operations, or meron tayong mga nakuha na sakit na nagamot na, pero pag na-i-test ulit, makikita. So, minsan, sinasagot ng kliyente sa form nila or sa mag-medical sila, wala silang sakit kasi akala nila okay na sila. But when it's being seen, then that's the time that visa officer requests for information.
Oo, mga kababayan, number 1, kasi ay lahat ng pupunta rito na more than 6 months ay dadaan sa isang medical check-up examination, di ba? Sa Philippines, maraming clinic yan. Meron sa Davao, Manila, Makati, Cebu, ganyan. Dadaan po kayo. Ang iniisip kasi, Glendale, di ba, ng mga kababayan natin, yung sakit ko na yun, 10 years ago pa.
Yes.
Bata pa ako na although malubha, magaling na ako ngayon. 'Di ba? Kaya ang ginagawa nila doon sa tanong na mga no, none or something like that, no? Oo. Pero kapag na-test sila at meron silang ganung sakit, ano mangyayari doon?
So, pag meron kang, let's say for example, nag-test positive ka ng hepatitis, so magre-request sila ng additional test sa'yo, or additional information kung meron ka bang medical certificate na nagpapagamot ka, or kung let's say TB, kasi yung TB big thing sa Canada yun. So kung meron kang scar or meron kang exposure ng TB, kailangan mo magpagamot ng another 6 months bago ka makapunta ng Canada. So when we do representation sa ating mga kliyente, Sir Roves, we have to let them know that if you have prior conditions that we have to know about, we have to declare it. Kasi ang kailangan lang naman natin kung cured ka na, medical certificate lang. Or kung ongoing pa yung medication mo, is that we provide them information na ongoing yung medication. Hindi naman kailangan itago yun.
Glendale, sa iyong experience, ano ba yung naging common na sakit nila na nakikita ng mga medical clinics?
Most of the common ones, or the common one siguro, is yung sa thyroid po, yung hyperthyroidism. So kasi when they do medical, hindi naman nila alam kung ano yung itetest talaga, right? Even us, hindi natin alam kung ano yung itetest, but medical doctors, they perform a physical examination to you. So when they see something on your neck, which is masyadong mabilis makita. So, nag-request siya ng additional test. Doon nakikita mostly.
Okay, mga kababayan, ang mga medical clinics na sinasabi namin, hindi basta-basta medical clinic sa Pilipinas, kundi ito ay mga accredited ng Canadian government. Okay, may listahan po ang yung mga RCIC, katulad ni Glendale, makikipag-coordinate po kayo sa kanila. Okay, so, okay na tayo doon? Papasok na ba tayo sa number 2? Okay, so papasok na po tayo sa second common cause of misrepresentation in your application for immigration.
The next one would be you fail to declare prior refusals to any visa countries or another country na napag-applyan natin. So we have clients kasi na minsan nare-refuse sila ng Australia.
We are talking of ano rito kahit na anong visa.
Kahit anong visa po.
Tourist,
New Zealand or USA, sinasabi nila wala silang refusal.
Akala kasi nila hindi makikita ng Canada, di ba?
Yes. So, just for everyone's information, first world countries, they actually share border information. So, if meron kang prior refusals, meron kang prior na TNT or hindi ka umuwi ng tamang oras sa iyong mga visa, nakikita po yun. So, kailangan nating i-declare, and we need to make our clients aware of it, that we need to declare it, because yun nga, ang border information ng Canada, ng other big countries, they share it. It doesn't matter kung visitor visa ba yun, tourist, student visa ba, or permanent resident applications, kailangan natin i-declare.
Mamaya, pagkatapos natin ng 5 causes, siguro interesado yung mga kababayan natin. Kunwari, napadaan sila sa ganyan na misrepresentation, kung ano siguro ang remedy. Mamaya tanungin kita dyan. Okay, so second is yung prior refusal. Alright? So, papasok na ba tayo sa third?
Yes po, that's correct.
Okay,
So,
papasok na tayo sa third common cause of misrepresentation.
yung third one naman po, ito yung pinakamabigat. Fraudulent documentation. So, nagsasubmit tayo ng non-genuine documents kasi akala natin okay lang.
Ano ba tong mga document na to na normally sinasubmit nila na hindi naman totoo?
Number 1, fake COE or Certificate of Employments na hindi naman totoo.
Okay.
And then second po is yung tinatawag ngayon na show money. Ito po yung nagiging big issue sa Pilipinas ng mga student visa naman,
Okay.
na naghanap sila ng show money kasi nga malaki yung proof of funds ni Canada eh. So, merong mga bangko or agencies na nagpapaborrow ng show money, pero nadidetect na kasi ni Canada kung sino-sino yung mga bangkong ito or sino-sino yung mga agencies na ito.
Meron akong tanong, kasi kahit na hindi siguro isang magaling na Canadian agent o researcher ang titingin doon sa iyong bank statement, ano ba yung parang sa unang tingin lang, kahit na tayo, ordinaryong mga makikita mo na nagdagdag, medyo mali yung kasi normally hinihingin sila 4 months, 3 months bank statement, di ba? Di ba? Kumbaga hindi lang yung buwan na to, kundi yung mga nakaraan. In your experience, ano ba sa tingin mo yung mali?
Experience ko po, I know a lot of people will be looking at this, but yung way of looking at a bank certificate kung saang branch, most of the time it's the branch. Kung saang branch ito kinuha, kung saang bangko ito, meron na kasing mga flagged na tinatawag nila flag banks.
May mga record na.
May mga record na ng mga misrepresentation. So, nahihingan po sila ng tinatawag na procedural fairness letter. Kung saan, hindi lang 3 buwan yung ipoprovide mo or 24 months. Kaya ay, hindi po 3 buwan lang, kundi 24 months yung hinihingi ng IRCC.
Kapag sinulatan ka na tipong nagdududa na sila, so kumbaga yung talagang way beyond 24 months, baka okay yan
Meron naman pong iba kasi sir na outstanding talaga yung funds nila. Kumbaga, yung bangko lang nila is na flag kasi nga merong mga past banks. So, just for everyone's information, rural banks in the Philippines, they're mostly flagged.
Talaga.
So,
siguro common din yung Glendale, yung tipong yung nagbigay ka ng bank statement na 6 months, ang laman ng bangko mo, standard, yung tinatawag na daily average balance, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, may sweldo ka, 5,000, 10,000. Nung mag-a-apply ka na, biglang nagkaroon ka ng deposit ng 200,000.
Yes.
Di ba? Saan nanggaling yung 200,000, di ba? So, questionable.
Yeah, bulk deposit po ang tawag nila doon. So, anything more than 25,000 is considered a bulk deposit for immigration purposes.
Oh, I see. Yeah, good to know. So mga kababayan, alam niyo na, basa na kaagad ng Canada kung ikaw ay biglang nagkaroon ng bank deposit. Pero yung sinabi mong rural banks, napakagandang rin yan. Kasi maliliit na mga bangko lang yan di ba?
Kasi po hindi yata, the reason why nagiging flag sila kasi hindi po lahat, alam naman po natin sa buong Philippines, hindi naman po lahat reachable ng internet or reachable ng signal. So, siguro pag hindi sila nako-contact or hindi sila sumasagot sa tawag ng immigration, pina-flag sila. Pero kapag nakapag-provide naman po yung kliyente ng documentation na outstanding talaga yung balance sila at available yung balance sila, wala namang problema yun.
Alright.
Yeah.
So mga kababayan, yung rural banks, normally yan yung mga maliliit na bangko sa mga malalayong lugar, wala sa city. Okay, thank you so much for that third common cause. Papasok na po tayo sa pang-apat na common cause ng misrepresentation.
So, this one, pang-apat po, failure to mention your family members. So, marami pong nagiging ganito, yung mga hiwalay sa asawa, hindi nakadeclare yung anak, hindi nakadeclare yung asawa, at minsan yung asawa nila nag-a-apply din pala sa Canada. So doon po sila nadadali. Nakikita ng immigration that this client provided false information regarding sa family member. So we also have to remember po Sir Rove that Canada is a very family-oriented country. And they have been very open to family reunification, kaya nga dami natin mga super visa, may mga child benefits tayo, and so forth. So it's very important to declare your family information kahit na non-accompanying family members sila. Most of the time kasi, Sir Rov, yung mga nag-a-apply ng permanent residency or work permits or student visa, hindi nila dinideclare yung pamilya nila kasi akala nila extra baggage sa application nila.
True.
Or, kasi wala silang information or wala silang ma-provide na documentation. So, iniisip nila na extra baggage. And somehow, at the end of the day, pag meron kang family member na nag-apply tapos na-declare ka, kahit permanent resident ka naman or Canadian citizen, they can strip it away from you if it's caused by misrepresentation. So, it doesn't really matter.
Siguro iniisip ng mga kababayan kaya nila hindi sinama yung family, yung name ng family member nila sa kanilang application. Siguro number one, hindi naman nila talaga, kumbaga, hindi totoong, hindi full-blooded na kapatid. Diba? Hindi full-blooded na anak. Ibig sabihin ay anak ng iyong partner, mga ganyan. Hindi ka nakapirma sa birth certificate. Hindi mo na sinama. Adopted mo yung child, hindi mo sinama, sasabi mo kasi adopted mo. Mga ganyan, di ba? Oo. Hindi na nila dinedeclare. Ano ba ang implication? Kunwari, gusto mo na silang isama, bigla, hindi mo sila dineclare. Tapos gusto mo na silang isama, ano mangyayari? Blended.
So, nangyari na po yun, I think, in the past, that hindi ka allowed si Canada kasi once whoever you declared on your family information from your first application should be the family information that you will declare until you become a citizen. So, hindi mo na siya ma-edit or hindi mo na siya ma-change unless meron kang nanganak ka. Kasi pag nanganak ka, iba yun. Dagdag yung anak. Pero yung nag-apply ka ng mga PR application, hindi mo sinama yung asawa mo, yun, hindi mo yung dagdag.
At saka yung yung kapag meron kang anak na hindi mo dineclare at gusto mo na siyang pumunta rito, habang minor pa rin siya, hindi mo na siya masasama. Bakit? Kasi tatanungin ka ng sino yan? Ba't di mo dineclare yan nung una? Diba?
Yung iba po din, sir, akala kasi nila, let's say, merong late sila nakapunta ng Canada, 18 years old and above na yung mga anak nila. So, hindi na nila dinideclare kasi nga 18 and above na, iniisip nila hindi na kasama sa application. So, pero actually, you have to declare them kahit na non-accompanying sila kasi pag nag-apply sila sa Canada, they will get points from you as a parent or as a sister, as a brother. Kasi the parents or the direct family members are in Canada.
Alam mo, nabanggit mo yung anak companying, kasi nga yung ibang kababayan, hindi sinasama yung isang family member nila kasi iniisip nila, hindi ko naman kasama. Mga kababayan, yun po yung term na non-accompanying member. So kahit na hindi sasama sa'yo sa biyahe mo rito, kailangan mong i-declare. Tama?
Kailangan i-provide, ang information.
Alright. Okay, maliwanag. In short, moral lesson, declare everyone.
That's true.
Alright. Okay, so thank you so much. Doon sa pang-apat na yon, papasok na po tayo sa pang-limang common cause of misrepresentation.
Number 5 is non-genuine marriage. So, very common din ito for Filipinos kasi we have a lot of Filipino, kapwa Filipino natin na they marry Canadians or they marry Canadian permanent residents. Pero kailangan meron kasing tinatawag na family member test, yung tinitest kung totoo ba, genuine ba yung marriage nyo or it is just a marriage of convenience yung tawag po nila. Meaning ng marriage of convenience is nagpakasal ka lang for the sake of emigrating to Canada.
Paano kaya nabubuking yun?
So, ginagawa nila, Sir Rove, if hindi, kasi di ba when we do a sponsorship application ng ating mga clients, we submit detailed information, we backtrack to how many years para makuha yung mga information nila, mga photos together, wedding photos, family members' testimonies. Natitest nila pag walang mai-provide yung mga kliyente. Or kaiba yung background. Most of the time, they will request for an interview to the clients and then doon nila natitest yung marriage of convenience.
Kasi pag in-interview ka na, papupuntahin ka dun sa embassy yata at isang oras ka dun i-grill. Parang ganun di ba? So,
another common po doon, yung mga common law, yung common law partner na nagiging common law lang kasi nag-a-apply sa Canada.
So, common law mga kababayan, you live in.
Yeah.
Kasi
so dapat dapat po yung common law partner, you have to live together for at least a year.
Yes. In one house, one roof.
One house, yeah. One roof, one address, one everything. So yung iba nagiging common law partners lang dahil sa immigration ng Canada.
Kasi dito mga kababayan, pag live-in kayo, kahit na hindi mo nga asawa, hindi kayo kasal, pwede mong sponsoran. Ang requirement lang ay meron kayong proof ng 1 year na under one house, same address, meron kayong joint bank accounts, meron kayong joint ownership, di ba?
Yes.
Pwede yun. Kaso nga yung iba, kahit nakulang sa 1 year, gumagawa ng mga papeles na hindi totoo. Doon sila nabubuking.
Tapos nakakalimutan nila, sir, na sinubmit ko pala to.
Oo nga.
Doon sila nabubuking ng Canada.
Okay, yeah. So yun po mga kababayan ang top common causes of misrepresentation. Pero meron pang bonus, may question lang dito, Glendale. Paano naman yung criminal case nila? Bonus question lang. Baka pag meron silang criminal case na hindi nila
criminal background.
So
for criminality naman, we have to declare if you had past criminality and then you have to pass 5 years after na dismissal ng criminality mo. Tapos bago ka makapag-apply sa Canada, but you need to get records that you've been pardoned or you've been your case has been dismissed in the last 5 years. So we always have to provide that information kasi maghihingi naman si Canada ng police clearance for the last 10 years
Yes. All right. Okay. So bottom line mga kababayan, be honest, declare everything. All right. So kunwari nangyari na yung ganyan, unintentional. Okay, kunwari talagang nagkamali lang dahil hindi gumamit ng regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Ano ba ang remedy?
Remedy would always be providing the right documents. So, kung sinasabi mo naman, let's say for example, yun nga sa mga rural bank, nagkakaproblema dahil hiningan ako ng PFL, yung tinatawag natin yung Procedural Fairness Letter. Hindi sila naniniwala sa proof of funds ko. No, it's not that. You just need to provide your documentation kung totoo ba na available yung funds doon. Pero kung hindi talaga ma-provide, of course, you will be subject to misrepresentation. Pero pag na-provide naman, wala namang problema yun sa Canada.
Okay, nabanggit mo yung Procedural Fairness Letter. Ano ba to at kailan ito natatanggap ng isang aplikante o ng isang RCIC?
So, Procedural Fairness Letter is being provided by immigration officers when they see something inconsistent on your application. When they request that, they have seen something different or indifferent sa application mo, you have to answer the Procedural Fairness Letter. You have to provide the documentation or information na hinihingi nila. Kapag na-provide naman po yun, within the specified timeline, wala namang problema. It's either they approve it or they refuse it, or kung totoong misrepresentation, they will ban you for 5 years.
So mga kababayan, hindi porket nag-file na kayo ng application, hindi na sumasagot ang IRCC, Government of Canada. Batay sa sinabi ng ating guest na si Glendale, kapag meron silang nakita, nakikipag-communicate sila. Binibigyan pa kayo ng pagkakataon.
Yes.
Yun po yung Procedural Fairness Letter na normally, It's either within 30 days sagutin mo or within 60 days sagutin mo. Kung hindi,
Sometimes within 90 days merong iba yung mga yung mga police clearance kasi matagal talaga yung mga police clearances.
kunwari, lumagpas yung timeline na binigay sa'yo. Last question na to. Ano mangyayari sa application mo? Wala kang sinagot. Wala kang sinagot.
Yeah. If meron kang RCIC tapos hindi mo ma-provide on that specific timeline, si RCIC po magre-request kay Immigration Canada to extend, to magbigay ng extension para ma-provide natin yung documentation. Kasi hindi naman po lahat available right away, like yung mga police clearances, yung mga anything that that will include legal procedures, kailangan po extra time yun. So magre-request si immigration consultant. However, if you do not answer the procedural fairness letter or they are not satisfied with your answer, it's either you will be refused or they will ban you for misrepresentation for the next 5 years.
Alright. Okay, maliwanag na maliwanag mga kababayan. So, before we end, ano ang iyong mapapayo, parting word sa ating mga nakikinig na mag-a-apply pa lang, gagawa ng forms or makikipag-coordinate with an RCIC?
So, what I will always suggest is mag-provide po kayo ng totoong information. Lahat po dapat laid out from the beginning. Kailangan yung sabihan yung immigration consultant nyo or whoever is representing you that I had this thing in the past, or I had processed this in the past, or I had past history ng ganito, para maremedyohan ng ating RCICs or ng iyong representative or kahit ng family member mo, kasi sometimes family member po yung nag-a-apply para sa kanila. So matutulungan ka din sumagot ng mga family members kung ano dapat yung isasagot. But we need to be honest on our immigration forms. Yun po ang number one, because in Canada, malaking thing sa kanila yung magbigay ka ng dishonest answer sa application mo. It's heavier than any of the kahit makita natin kung sa atin kay may criminality na, pero sa Canada mas heavy yung dishonest yung sagot mo dun sa form mo. Kahit iniisip natin, maliit lang to kasi nakalimutan ko, but you know, if it's your dishonest on your answer, it could cost you your application.
True. Okay, well said. So, Glendale, kung gusto kanilang kontakin, saan kanila pwede kontakin?
So they can email us info@can-international-immigration.com. We're also available on WhatsApp +1 604 318 8280. Again, my name is Glendale Bongcaron. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant from CIIC po ang aming company.
CIIC. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for being with us today, Glendale. Yes. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching ABC All About Canada, a program that informs, educates, and inspires our fellow kababayans with concerns in the Philippine-Canadian community. Once again, my name is Rovic Canono. I'll see you again.